All right, back. Ready to roll here. The mental
Right.
edge with Sawyer Nix. First of all, Sawyer, let's get right to it. Everybody else has been giving their take on the game Saturday night as we kind of get back into it the Tuesday after Labor Day. Go ahead with yours.
I would say overall, again, I mentioned this last episode that going into halftime, if we're down 3 or up 7, there's going to be some panic and some shock. And sure enough, coming out of that game is exactly what I've heard. Oh my gosh, we're exactly back where we were last year. Yet to be determined is what I'll say. Yet to be determined as far as the offensive line goes, and play calling and things like that. I think it's too early to tell. I think it's first game. We got to learn some more. I think the team learned more about themselves. I think Rattler learned about himself. I think the offensive line figured some things out. And certainly they've come to the defense with Lloyd and Rattler of the offensive line. And, hey, it's not all of their fault. And who knows? But I think at the same time, they're going to do everything they can to encourage them so that the wheels don't fall off this early in the season. And everything's thrown in the trash can. Oh, woe is me. The sky is falling. And, certainly we don't want that in week 2. So perhaps not what we went on offense. I was somewhat close with my score prediction. I think I said 34-20. And it was, they didn't get to the 20 at, 35-14, 34-14. So I was pretty close, not that far away. Certainly I didn't see us blocking 2 punts for touchdowns. Didn't see that happening. But we'll take it any way we can. And I think the mentality for the team is, hey, it's a win. It wasn't our best effort in all areas, but it was good. And I think certainly the defense had some areas in which they need to improve too. I think it's not all of the offensive line is they're the bad guy and everybody else gets a free pass. Parts of the game that I saw, there was a particular defensive end that was not holding the edge, that got sucked in several plays, and they decided to run around him. Some secondary got their eyes in the backfield just because of the nature of Georgia State's running the ball. So I think discipline in all phases will continue to be a key and a focus.
Talking about mental discipline here on the mental edge with Sawyer Nix. Okay, so if you're the offensive line, right, and you make a good point. Teams win, teams lose. They win or lose as a team. Marshawn Lloyd had to come out and defend them publicly. I think maybe if they'd have had a bad game next week and done against Georgia State, will probably wouldn't be panic because SEC you're going to run into that. But it is what it is. How, if you're part of that unit, can you mentally get refocused and kind of not let the outside noise distract you and ruin your confidence? Because that's the last thing. You're going to take some heat, right? But that's the last thing
Right.
you need to happen is these guys all lose confidence. And then you're talking about something that could last 6-7 games, and that would obviously be a disaster.
Right. A big part of that is, all right, where are we going back to? And I think everybody, again, fans to some degree, but also the team is, hey, this was game 1. We knew there were going to be mistakes coming from game 1. This is our first live fire. Again, in 247 days, I think is what I mentioned last week from the Belt Bowl. And so this is it's a whole new team. You got new players, new starters, new quarterback, new analyst. So I think part of it is, all right, our goal is this, whatever their individual goal is. Also, you have your team goals, but it's all right, here's our goal. We made a mistake. We didn't do this well. They review the film. Here's where we can get better. And I think it's that. I don't think it's oh my goodness, I got to figure out how to go from being a loser to a winner this week. If we're at that point, it's not going well. They already believe in themselves, whether or not the outside noise does. We can yell all we want. Within the offensive line, they have confidence. If they didn't, they would have got knocked on their butt even more. it would have been even worse. And certainly 3 sacks was not strong, and had some other lack of a run game. I think it was 79 yards. And looking at the stats for next week, Arkansas had triple that. So another theme similar to last week, but again, I think the offensive line, they have the mindset that we are going to knock some people's butts off, and we made mistakes, and we're going to adjust from that. A big culture focus this year that I've heard other teams talk about as well outside of the Gamecocks, but especially the Gamecocks this year, is the 1% rule. Hey, we're getting better 1% every day. So small incremental changes in development each and every day, each practice, each rep, I'm doing this one thing better. Today, I'm doing this one thing better. And that's a goal that the team has, that the culture has been focusing on this year. And I know that will be something that the offensive line definitely takes hold of this week. And they do need to have more of a mentality to do that. And they have that. I don't think that's something we innately have. They have to learn that. But also, we can't go from not having it to having it in a week. So if it doesn't go well this week, that doesn't mean that, it's just lost for forever. They can develop, but it's hard to develop from no toughness one week to, all right, we're game changers this week, and we're steamrollers and bulldozers and, all those things. That doesn't happen in a week. So I think part of it's, all right, how do we make that incremental change and use what's already there, that belief that they already have, and turn them down the outside noise and focus on what they have to do.
Talking with Sawyer Nix, the mental edge. He discusses mental health, mental approach every single week here on Tuesdays with us. And we get an interesting point here, Phil, from Sonder up on the Nana Sports chat box. Marshawn's cut on that 4th and 1, I think, made me giddy. Not the greatest run, but he planted on the knee hard. Guess he's really confident in it. So happy to see him playing hard and loose. We've talked about that here on overcoming injury. From a mental standpoint, you think that was a good sign Saturday night, his performance?
Oh, absolutely. Some of his runs that he made were, hurdle the guy. There was a 3rd down, 4th down run that he made that he was, dead in the water. I'm like, it is a loss, and he turned it to a gain. He had several runs. As the run game was, it could have been even worse if it wasn't for Lloyd. Lloyd just did a phenomenal job, and that's because he's confident. The confidence allows him to perform to that level. Same thing with the offensive line. If they have the confidence, and maybe not every player is skilled and is talented, but certainly that can be developed. Every player has weaknesses and strengths, and the coach has to coach those up, enhance those, develop those, and a big part of that will be, the offensive line this week. It is a focus.
Yeah, I think Lloyd, if he gets room, Phil and Sawyer, I think he can get some things going on the ground.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But the biggest thing I was looking for was that confidence. Does he look like he trusts his body? And it did.
Yes.
So I think that's just going to continue to pay dividends moving forward.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think 11 carries, 30 yards, and then I think he had another 30 in receiving yards, 2 touchdowns. So that's good. Yeah, because Marshawn, I said he had no touchdowns last year. I was wrong about that. He had 1. He looked really good. I thought Juju McDowell had a tough time getting going on the perimeter, which was bad because that was part of the game plan, attack him on the perimeter. But I don't really fault him. He didn't have a lot of room. I thought when Jaheim Bell carried the ball, that was pretty good. They did a good job of getting the ball in Bell and Juice Wells' hands, and Jalen Brooks was phenomenal. But you have to be concerned. Like, look, Spencer Rattler's out there running for his life, and the vast majority of the big plays he had, he was running for his life, right? And all that good stuff. All right, so heading into this weekend, Arkansas, I think, is a 7.5-point favorite. Last time I checked, maybe that's changed. Gamecocks are on the road. They were not a great road team last year. Won at East Carolina early in the season, and then did not win again away from Williams-Brice until the bowl game. we talked about this some in the preseason about with you about mindset going on the road. Shane Beamer even talked about how they've been examining everything about if they're doing anything wrong on road trips, changing up the routine or whatever. Tell me kind of your keys to a team walking into what I think will be a hostile environment. I mean, Arkansas's crowd showed up loud and proud last week. There's a lot of momentum in Arkansas right now. So I think they'll be calling the Hogs like crazy. Razorback Stadium gets loud. Your take on how to handle that road adversity?
Well, I think part of it will be acknowledging that. I think sometimes teams go into environments, we're fine. Well, I don't need to worry about that. We're tough. We're good. It's like, I think part of it is acknowledging it. Yeah, this is going to be a hard team. This is going to be a tough crowd. And so I think a lot of times it's acknowledging adversity, not necessarily running away from it or pretending it's not there, pretending it won't impact them. It will. Certainly if Rattler has to make calls at the last scrimmage, change protection, audible, the crowd's going to be loud. That's going to be a factor. And so I think acknowledging that is a good first step. Hopefully the coordinators put them in a position to have some success earlier, whether that's a simple throw, solid run, try and put them into some position to get momentum going and then just see how things go as the game goes along. I would not of course, Beamer's examining everything, and he's looking at the long haul as well. But I don't know that micromanaging every little nitpicking thing or overreacting is probably the best. Certainly, last year's team is different. They didn't do as well on the road, certainly, in games. Tennessee was the biggest of those that went quite poorly early on. But sometimes it's a few momentum plays here and there. And sometimes they happen. JC, you've talked about getting off the mat. And I think that's important for the team is they're probably going to get hit in the mouth. Arkansas is a good team. They're tough. They're hard-nosed. I think Pittman does a good job with their culture and developing that. And they're very much a program that I would say is like South Carolina. They're not a blue-chip program. They're not the Alabama of the West, and we're not the Georgia of the East. I think we're our own program, and certainly South Carolina has to learn how to get in there and have that 1% approach. Again, what are the little things we got to do this week and improve in those areas and then see how things go. We tend to look at some of the big approach, and hopefully if we can look at some of that smaller approach that within the program, it's very much a, hey, we won, we've got to make some small adjustments, make some small changes, and go forward. Mental toughness certainly is I guess one of the key words that probably comes up, and there's a lot of different definitions for that. One may be persistent in facing challenges and mistakes and failure. I think that's a good phrase or concept, is being persistent. So I think continue knocking, beating, running, hitting, tackling, all of those things. I think that's a key to the Gamecocks being mentally tough this week, is being persistent, continuing throughout the week of practice and engagement. Also focusing and just knowing that when you perform your best, that's mentally tough. When you need it the most and perform your best, that's when you're mentally tough. And so I think that consistency and drive, focus, all those are key components to what they do this week. And again, that's not just a focus for this week, but I think that's something they always do.
Wrap it up with Sawyer Nix, the Mental Edge. You can check him out every single week here. Any final thoughts on the game coming up against Arkansas? It may be too early for a prediction this week because it's Tuesday, and by this point we're all using it. But Labor Day yesterday, it's thrown me off. So,
Right.
But any thoughts on initial thoughts on who may win the game? I think South Carolina's obviously going to have to play better. But
Yes.
if they do and they can connect vertically on some passes, I think you can take advantage of Arkansas's somewhat depleted secondary. We're going to talk to Trey about that, but I also think you could if they can find a way to get the run game going too, that'll help. I think it's a game South Carolina's going to have to win primarily on offense because I just think that their offense is just really hard, even for a good defense to stop or slow with KJ Jefferson and all that. But, how do you think it'll play out?
I agree. I think it'll be somewhat similar to the Georgia as far as what we'll see from Arkansas on offense with their Georgia State. I think with the running quarterback, and then their offense is pretty prolific, certainly a lot better than Georgia State's, but I think we'll see some of that. So it'll be interesting to see if the defense is able to kind of toughen up and continue some of their progress that they made this past week. Offensively, you're right. I agree that they're going to have to hold up their end of the bargain. Special teams will be good, but I don't see them blocking 2 punts for touchdowns. I don't see that happening again. It might be a once-in-a-decade thing. I hope not. Certainly it's a big emphasis with Pistol Pete Limbo. I think it's a cool nickname. But maybe we'll see some special teams play that will be good. But certainly I don't think we can count on 14 points from special teams. That's not going to happen this week. Could be wrong.
Yeah.
Could be wrong. But statistically says otherwise. I also think that they'll make some adjustments. I think having the analysts and having Sat, having the offense, having Rattler, I think it's much more of a collaborative effort than it was last year. I think it's much more open to how can we pare down things. I thought the play call sheet, I was kind of baffled by 4 pages that Sat had for his play call sheet, and Rattler with the wristband. I was like, all right, let's narrow this down a little bit and then build off of that. So for me, I think that's the key when we talk about playing fast. We talk about you think too much and you can't play too fast. So, at times you wonder how much of that was going on going into the first week for some of the players. So hopefully they can pare some things down, get the run game established, and maybe we can get a turnover on defense. Maybe it's special teams that can get us some points, but maybe defense gets us some points. I'm going to be at the game, so I'm looking forward to that. Not only am I going to be at the game, but I'm flying through Chicago, of all places. So my connecting flight is GSP to Chicago to Arkansas. So how weird is that?
Yeah, you got O'Hare. You're going to be at O'Hare. I hope your flight's not delayed, brother. I really do. It's O'Hare's a mess. Heading down to XNA, Northwest Arkansas. So that's one of those things. You're kind of making a big triangle, I think.
Right.
That.
Yeah.
All right.
So points wise, I don't know. It's 7-8 points. I think that will be similar again. Last week was, the spread was 11-12. I think it will be a 7 to 10 point game. At this point, I'm pulling for the Gamecocks. The offense has got to show some improvement for me to believe that they can win. Now, can they win? Yes. It'll be game 2. If this was game 8, I would say that South Carolina doesn't have much of a chance to win, but this is game 2. We don't know. I think it's too early. And as long as the team continues with that 1% principle that we can apply as well, I think we'll have a fighting chance. At this point, I'm going to guess that we perhaps lose by 6 or 7. I'll say, 35, 20, 28. I'll just throw that out there. Maybe if we can score 28 points, but
35,
maybe
28.
A similar score.
Arkansas.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. I think that's a fair.
Hope I'm wrong.
Yeah, no doubt about it. But you got to go with what you see, right?
But yeah, right.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'll be there in my Garnet cheering. So.
Well, Sawyer, we can't wait to hear all about your trip to Arkansas next week, and hopefully, if you come back, you'll have positive impressions to report. It's a good. I haven't been out there since 2009, but it's a great place to see a game. Really, Arkansas fans are great people, so it's now they're gonna be talking smack like all fans, but they're good people. I mean, it's not like going to some of the other venues in the SEC. All right, buddy. Appreciate it, Sawyer. Thank you so much. The Mental Edge with Sawyer Nix.
Great week.
You too.
Yes,
you too. And all that. He joins us